No vale. Así que se...
Mala mía.
Welcome back to another episode of Books and Beers.
Thank you guys for 100 subscribers. We actually hit 110. Amazing.
110.
I actually gave the goal in January for 80 subscribers, and we made it to one. Let's reach 80 by the end of January, maybe.
Yeah, I like that.
Are you down? And we made it to 110. So thank you guys for that. Let's see if we can hit 200 before February. That'd be insane.
Yeah, that'd be good.
We'll see. So today, as you can see here, we have the subtle art of not giving an F. As you can see,
we are wearing
our clothes. We don't give an F about our clothing.
About the clothes that we wear. We wear hats during the videos. Yeah.
But this is our third book in the self-help series. It was a really interesting one, 200 pages. And to celebrate the 100 subscriber mark, we have Miller High Life, which is a champagne of beers, which is why we have this glass right here.
That's what they call them. So let's give it a try. Cheers.
Nice little bubbly.
It can pass. Congrats. Cheers. It could have passed by champagne. All right. So the book was written by Mark Manson. Not that well known, but the book is definitely super well known because it is what I categorize as the most millennial book there is. Every single young person probably knows the book, and it has made its way through one of the most important self-help books.
Yeah.
I think the reason for that is because it has really good points, and it describes it in a very juvenile, not only juvenile, contemporary way. You know, he curses. The title even has a curse, so
we can't say on that.
Can't say. One thing about the book, though, before we get into the things that we like and our takeaways, is that Mark Manson was actually a vlogger. He had an internet vlog, which is super interesting, and he explains.
He mentions it in the book.
He explained how he got to the place. So at the end, he tells that the book came from all the vlogs that he put together.
Yeah.
So it has really good points, but different than other books, it might not have the biggest trajectory step by step. It might be different points all around life.
By the way, this book has 300,000 reviews in Goodreads, which is insane.
Which is huge.
I'm sure all you guys have seen the cover. Basically, every college student, I think, there's like one of the first books you get. Yeah. He definitely made it with this book, and we definitely had to review it in the channel.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of people saying that if you want to start working, the most important books you should read is The Subtle Art of Not Getting Enough and How to Win Friends and Influence People. So for those two to be ranked next to each other, it's an important thing. However, you know, I'm gonna throw a few facts that I picked from the book, and we're gonna discuss them. We haven't talked about these at all. So, like we mentioned, one of the cool things about the book is that it is applied to today and things in millennials, exactly. So, like social media, how technology is changing ourselves, and one of the things he talks about is entitlement and social media. And I know that I finished this book in May of last year, and Barney just finished reading it recently. Today. And we had a few back and forths. We try not to do many of those because that spoils a little bit the video, and we don't have that many things to talk about. But you talked about entitlement and social media. So what was your take on that?
Yeah, so he mentions that I'm a big social media guy. I know you don't have that many social medias. Mm-hmm. I'm a big Twitter guy, and he mentions that in today's world, since through social media you have a voice, people feel entitled to their opinions and that they are special, which is a big point of the book, that you're not special. That's one of the chapters that you're not special.
You're not special.
So people through social media think that they're special and they have opinions, and normally the media and social medias, to get retweets, to get favorites, to get interactions, you normally try to get extreme views in the picture because that gets you likes.
And then people like you read those big pictures and think that that's most of the people talking. Right. At the end of the day, it's just a small conglomerate of people that do not have that much backing.
It's extremes. And it's the fact that most of the people that probably don't use social media that much, the average person doesn't have that opinion. But when you read the news, when you read Twitter, when you read Instagram, from both perspectives, it's you get overwhelmed because of the extremes. And that's one of the points he mentions.
Yeah. And the way he brings it back is the sort of art of not getting an F is just not you just walking down the street and not caring about anything. He explicitly says that it's the fact of you being happy with being different. It's not you being indifferent, but you being happy with being different.
And one of the points that I liked, because at first I like reading through the first chapter of the book, he starts very, I don't want to say bragging about how he doesn't give an F.
He just wants to grab the attention of millennials. So he says a lot of bad words. He talks about drugs and things like that.
Making jokes. And he starts saying like, oh, I don't give an F about anything. And at that point, we're both ambitious guys. Like you start thinking like, I don't want, like I have things that I care about and that I want to push myself to achieve. But through the book, which we'll talk about later,
Yeah.
you can see that that's not his point. It's what you're saying, that you have to give an F about certain things, but things like that, like checking what people are saying in social media, is one of the examples that you shouldn't give an F about.
They shouldn't really matter. But that's one of the big things that you see with this book is that at the beginning you might be reluctant with reading it because since it's such a millennial book, you might be thinking, oh, I don't want to read it. That's just what everyone reads. As if people that do not read are going to read the book. And at the beginning with him talking about not caring about anything, that's something that you might perceive. But as you keep reading, you understand that a lot of the points that he makes are really, really good. And the book just keeps getting better and better. That's what I really liked.
Yeah, I think the book does get better and better. The style of the writing, I think, we're getting into styles of writing now. I think it does get a lot better, a lot more genuine, I think is the word.
And engaging.
And he has some fascinating points.
Yeah.
You mentioned at first that this book was made through his notes, so it's a little messy at times, but it has some points that really make you think and are really good.
And there's so many good points that actually we're not going to be able to cover all of them today. So I want to...
And we don't want to spoil
We don't want to spoil it, but we do want to invite you guys to follow us on Books and Beers Club on Instagram because we're going to post a few of our favorite quotes from the book that we don't talk about today soon. However, another point that I really like was something that he called the self-awareness onion. And it is just like an onion, it's something that you start peeling and you start becoming more self-aware. The first one that he talks about is understanding one's emotions, which is the first layer. The second layer is why we feel those emotions. And the third layer is the personal values. This was so crucial to me because I think I do a good job at this and sitting down and trying to understand my emotions. That's called emotional intelligence, something that we're probably going to talk about in the future. But I see so many people that are not able to sit down and think about those emotions or dedicate some time to thinking about those emotions just because they're too afraid.
Right, and listen, you're learning something every day in Books and Beers. Amazing description. I can't add much to that, but it's that emotional intelligence aspect that you mentioned that is so important in today's life, especially with everything going on. Again, social media. A lot of people see all these successful lives and all these people living their best lives. And there's a lot of mental health issues that come from that. And through the book, I think it does a good job of displaying in those 3 steps how you can see where each people is. I think even for me, it's hard to be on that third, on that last step, because there's people on the first peel, on the first layer of the onion. There's people on the second, but getting to that deep third layer is really hard. But it's what benefits you in the long term. Yeah, and one other good thing is that he talks about himself just to support a few facts in the book. And he has really funny stories too. Like he talks about meeting his wife, his time in college. There's one part that I really like, not super related, but he says that only when you're living on your friend's couch and you have 25 cents in your bank account does the idea of starting a business not seem that crazy. And you know where they mention that too? Where? In Rich Dad Poor Dad. In one chapter he says connections. First video 2 weeks ago. Go see it. Connections. He mentions that pay yourself first. So I don't want to get too into that, but I think the meaning is the same in that if you have debts, if you have a lot of things that you have to pay yourself first. Pay a course, read a book, buy yourself a book. And when you're lacking money in a way, like he was struggling, you're going to be pushed to creating a vlog, a YouTube channel, a side hustle, because you need that money. Yeah. And at that point, when you're in need, is when you're going to be like, all right, let's do something. Like, I have nothing to lose, so let's put it out there, which is what he meant. And take that experience from him just starting a vlog to then becoming probably one of the most successful books that came out in the last decade. So that was really inspirational for me. What he said is that, sorry to interrupt you, is that if I'm going to be struggling making $8 an hour living in a friend's couch, I might as well struggle, but do my own thing and be my own boss. Exactly. Which is pretty cool. And a lot of people are... And he ended up making it, so kudos. So I have a lot of other points that I want to talk about, and I'll save one last one. But I want to throw the floor to you to ask you what are some other good points that you had that you liked. So an interesting point that I liked that we've talked about before is that humans always have to worry about something. So it's happened to you that you have a big presentation at work, a big deliverable, and you think, okay, after tomorrow I'm done. After I'm done with this, I'm gonna be happy. I'm gonna be done with everything. And yeah, you get that high of being happy for a day, 2 days, you go out for drinks with your friends. But after that Monday, you go back to reality and there's a crash. And so he says not to chase these highs, but rather make changes in your life that are going to be long term. Because yeah, alcohol can give you a high of being happy. Finishing a big presentation can give you the high of, okay, I'm done with this. But life will never be happy. You're always going to have to find something to worry about.
And the more highs you chase, the less happy you get.
Exactly. So that was pretty interesting to me. And an example of this, which was pretty funny, is that he says that an old lady goes to the supermarket and she fights the guy over some coupons for 30 cents. And you as a young guy are probably, you're saying like, oh, it's 30 cents, like who cares?
Yeah.
But an old lady has nothing else to worry about. And if you look at it from a macro perspective, we come from Venezuela. We have, like, in our country, we had problems with separation of families. People struggle to get food in our country. And you come to the US and you see that the problems are more developed in a way. You have problems that are based on race, on social status, and that's a good thing. There's a philosopher, I forget which one it is, that says people were happier 1,000 years ago. Now we have iPhones, iPads, Apple Pen, everything. People seem to be more stressed than ever. And it's because the human is always going to find something to worry about, which is crazy.
Yeah. He gets into the topic of happiness, which is
a lot.
Very complex. And I've realized that over the few self-help books that I've read. There's one book that I started to read and I put it down. I'm going to read it soon, called Solve for Happy, where it's also talks about happiness. And that's actually one of the things that I wanted to finish with. One of the points was the topic of happiness.
Yeah.
Because he has really important points on the topic of happiness. He has a few stories, like, for example, a story of one of the players in the Beatles compared to one of the players in Metallica. I'm not going to spoil the story for you guys because I want you guys to see it. But the topic of happiness in the book is really one of the most important things. And it's one of the things that I like the most. And that part of having something to worry about is something that we've talked about extensively. And I don't even want to add to anything to that because you describe it perfectly and I want people to go and see it.
Of course.
My last take, which is more of an influential one, is the VCR Question. So this is towards the end of the book.
Oh, wow.
Do you remember that one?
I did.
So I'll explain it and then Barney can give his take. He says that when he was a little kid, he will always get these fancy gadgets like a VCR. And his parents will always be questioning, how do we install it? Like, how do we do this? Like, how do you plug it into the computer? How do you plug it into the television? And he would just go and do it.
Classic. Your parents tell you the Wi-Fi doesn't work, and you unplug it, plug it back in, and they think you're an Apple mechanic.
When at the end of the day, you're not an Apple mechanic. You just sat down.
Technician.
An Apple technician. Sorry. At the end of the day, you're not really an Apple technician. You just sat down and did it.
Yeah.
And he says this applies for everything in life, and it's such a simple concept, but like I found it so meaningful, which is if you want to do something, just do it.
Yeah.
Like literally the quote of the guy screaming, "Just do it." Just do it. Yeah. Literally that. You just have to
don't give an F and just do it.
Yeah, and don't ask the VCR questions. Yeah, and just like that, there are a lot of good terms. Obviously, not that we can mention all. So I'm gonna do things a little different. I'm gonna jump to the rating right now, and then I'm gonna tell you so you can give me your final score. So my rating of the book was a 4.3.
Pretty high.
Which is pretty high. And the reason is because just like any other self-help book, it will tell you a lot of things that you think you know, but only through reading them will you realize them and actually start applying them more often than not.
And think about them.
So with that being said, your rating, your final take of the book, or one of your favorite takes.
So my rating, I'm gonna do it differently.
Okay.
For the first part, I wasn't a fan. I think he says not to care about anything. Obviously he fixes it after, but I'm a pretty ambitious guy. I think he might be aiming at 30, 40-year-olds, but I think for me, if I want to achieve something, I have to set my mind to it and obsess over it. Probably it might not be the correct way. I see stress as a fuel.
Yeah. Which
is crazy, but so for the first part, I gave it a 3. Mm-hmm. But for the second part, I'll give it a 4.5, which was the part that we said he humbles himself. He talks more from a genuine, like, deep side of himself. So that's, if you do the math, that's a 3.8. 3.8.
So cool thing is, shout out to Joey, one of my friends, that when we were starting the channel, he said, never be afraid of reviewing a book twice because you're going to have different takes. And I have my takes, Barney has his takes, and at the end of the day, the point of you guys reading the book and having your own takes.
Your own conclusions.
Do you want to give your favorite fact?
One of the conclusions of the book, because we didn't talk about them all, is don't worry about menial things that don't matter. We have a joke in our group that whenever you, especially Falcon's the king of this. Let's say something with a girl happened a week ago, and For a week, he doesn't stop talking about that. Like, oh, I can't believe this girl did this. Can't believe this girl did this. While the girl is probably partying with her friends, not even without knowing that Falcon exists.
That's called
rent-free, the rent-free effect. That girl lives rent-free in Falcon's head. And I think one of the points of this book is to, whenever you're ranting like that, you just think to yourself, that in the big picture of things, this does not matter.
Exactly.
This does not matter at all. Don't worry about trivial things. Always think about the big picture and what you want to achieve in life. Exclusively pick the things you want to worry about, because there are only a few. There are only a few that you can really go in depth and really focus on.
A good way of measuring that is, will this matter in 5 years? Your health matters in 5 years. Your job maybe matters in 5 years.
Family.
This beer being warm doesn't really matter in 5 years, but it is not warm, so it's fine. Awesome. As far as the beer, I like light beers, cheap beers, college beers, if you want to call them. Bud Light, one of my favorite beers, not gonna lie.
Sponsor.
Yeah, there you go. Sponsor us. Cut the check once again. This one is not one of my favorite beers that are cheap, but I'm gonna give it a 3.2.
3.2, same score. I agree.
3.2.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree with that. It's nothing crazy. Just the college beer that you can buy for cents.
Not my go-to cheap beer, but
Champagne or beers though.
Champagne or beers, yeah. Celebration, 110 subscribers.
Like the video, subscribe. Next week we have the big finale in the new year, new me.
New year, self-help.
Stay tuned for the big reveal, and we have a giveaway soon. So
stay tuned for that. Follow us on Instagram so you can see it. See you next Wednesday. Thank you. And that's one of the big things that you... No! Okay.
Yeah.